Hey guys, so it's that time of the year again. I'm going to do my seasonal book wrap-up video. So this is what I read this autumn. I'm counting autumn from like early September till like 1st of November. So that's how I do it. Maybe it's different for you guys, but that's how I'm counting it. So I think I read a lot given how much work I had. But it's very varied actually. Like I kind of did a lot of similar stuff. So I started autumn reading Six of Crows, which took me a lot longer to read than I expected, simply because I had stuff to do in the middle of that, so I had to like pause it. But once I paused it, because I was basically not able to carry the book around with me whilst I was sorting out that stuff. When I read Six of Crows, I managed to read Cersei, so oh well. But anyways, so Six of Crows. I can't even begin to say how I feel about that book or the entire like duology, because I also, as soon as I finished Six of Crows, I also read Crooked Kingdom. I actually have both of the books in this edition, the hardcover collector's edition, but I lent Six of Crows to a friend right now. But oh my god, I have so many feelings. I'm debating whether to make a whole like standalone video about it, just because I don't know if there's anything I can bring into the conversation about it. I think it's done and dead as a subject at this point in BookTube. But if you guys want a Six of Crows video, like, just let me know. Favorite characters are... You see, I was really torn because I really liked Wylan, and I also really liked Matthias. But, you know, Matthias. No spoilers, I guess. Yay. But Wylan, oh my god, I want to have Wylan as my little baby cousin. I love him. He's adorable. I want to save him and I want to protect him. He's so cute, and by the end of it, he's like a badass, cute little penguin that I'm just like, baby, you know, he's my baby. I want to hug him. I also really like Jesper. You know, like Wylan and Jesper are like best couple. I mean, I'm kind of not entirely sold on Kaz and Inej, just simply because, like, I don't see them having a healthy relationship in the future. Like, Kaz has, you know, his thing with Touch and he's getting over it, but, like, I don't know if he's ever gonna be okay. And Inej deserves better. Like, Inej, she clearly loves him as well, and they both, like, reciprocate romance, but I don't know. They're perfect for each other if only Kaz wasn't like so damaged and hurt. But then again, like Inej is all damaged and hurt, like ugh. Also, I don't know how I feel, like, okay, spoiler alert I guess. Like, I don't know how I feel about the fact that Inej got to see her parents again. I mean, it's a nice touch, but I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think that should have been a thing. I think that should have stayed in her past. Mostly because I feel like she's moved on beyond being a family girl. So I don't know why Leigh Bardugo felt like putting that in there. I guess it's like to tie up loose ends, but I don't know, it kind of ruined it. It reminded me that she has parents. I don't like that. But okay, you know what, it's fair enough. And also, okay, so one thing that kept like scaring me throughout the entire duology was like the reminder that these people are like kids. Like, Wylan is 16, I think Inej is like 16 or 17, like they spoke and acted like they were 24-ish, and it doesn't, to me, I guess young adults are like they need to be young, but to me it doesn't make much sense to have someone like Kaz, who is clearly like really good at planning all this out, be like 17. It doesn't make sense. Well, I feel like Kaz definitely was more human and more of his age than the rest of the cast, just simply because he actually made a lot of mistakes. Or, I mean, the constant mistakes he was making because of the emotional aspect of him with Inej. That is the most 17-year-old thing I've ever seen. And in a way, I guess Kaz was definitely more his age than say like Nina. Nina was nothing like her age. She read to me like she was a 40-year-old woman. Like, maybe it's just me, but I totally read her as a 40-year-old woman. And like Jesper reads to me like a 25-year-old having a midlife crisis, like whilst being quite young. So I don't know. Wylan read as an 18-year-old who had having a mental breakdown. So I don't know, like I just didn't feel like they were their age, but like I guess that's the young adult trope. They need to be older than what they actually are in terms of mentally. So I enjoyed it. In terms of the writing style, it was great. It was easy to read actually. Like, it was so long. Like, the series was like easily about 1,000 pages for the 2 books, but I read it through quite easily. I was quite surprised at myself. I usually really struggle with longer books. I kind of don't feel motivated to finish them. But this time I did. I assume it's because it was written so well. And the one thing I have to complain though is like I actually talked to Cindy about this. A Crooked Kingdom book has like a defect in it, if I can find it right now. So I was like really confused at the end because I just thought that like it just ended like in the middle of a sentence, because like the chapter and the entire section, because that was what my book said. Then I found an ebook online and read the 4 missing pages that are missing from my book. So that was a bit disappointing, but like, that's not the book's fault. It's just the way that the book was produced, which is really annoying actually. I might get like a refund from Amazon for that. What I did love actually is that these books, they come with like character art, which I thought was great for like visualizing the characters. Although admittedly, like a lot of them, like in Six of Crows, I didn't come back to them at all. I saw them when I first started the book and then I didn't come back to them. Mostly because I imagined the characters like a different way and I didn't quite agree with them until the end. I still don't really agree with the way Nina's portrayed, but you know, whatever. Like it's a book, you have your own interpretation. I'm really excited for the Netflix series. The casting looks okay. I've seen the complaints regarding some people's characters on Tumblr, but I'm excited. It looks pretty good so far. I need to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy like ASAP before it begins, simply because otherwise I'm going to be feeling so confused, I think. So that's going to be great. I really enjoy the series and I hope more people will read them, because I put them off for 3 years because I thought it was going to be terrible, but I was quite surprised. Wow, there's going to be a really long section about Six of Crows, but I think it deserves that. I just made my own video, I guess. But yeah, that's that. So after I read Six of Crows, I also read Circe. This is before I went to Crooked Kingdom. Whilst I was waiting for Crooked Kingdom to arrive, I read Circe. Now this is basically a book, like it's a retelling of the story of Circe, who is the daughter of Helios, the sun god in Greek mythology, and she meets, I can't even pronounce Greek names, so don't judge me, but like she meets Odysseus, and like in mythology she's kind of like just a background character, like really intensely a background character. She's kind of like the witch of the island that she lives on, which I think is pronounced like Aya, or is it Ia? Yeah, she is on Ia. She's just kind of like the villain in the Odysseus story, but it's interesting the way that it was done. I really enjoyed the way, because I don't tend to read Greek mythology stuff. Just that recently I've just been really into it for some reason, probably because of Stephen Fry's book. But I was actually like enamored by the shiny book cover, like it's really shiny. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. And I read the blurb and it's like, it looks alright. But what really hit me was that the first like few chapters were exciting. It was like set in like Helios's halls. It was basically like a bit like the politics of the gods and the nymphs, and that was really interesting, and I thought it was going to stay like that for the rest of the book, but it wasn't, because she was banished to the island. And that was when it got really interesting, because I enjoyed seeing her grow from like a timid little witchling who's like practicing like how to make certain potions and stuff, to like there's a point where she just switches from like cute little innocent baby who's trying to just get back in life, and then turns into like this temporarily like rather villainous character, because she does a lot of horrible things to men, because, I mean, trigger warning I guess, and maybe spoiler alert actually, like serious spoiler alert, she gets really badly hurt by men. They rape her, and from that moment on everything in the entire story changes. The perspective changes and the way she is drastically changes. She becomes cynical, mean, doesn't listen to people, she becomes impatient, doesn't give any man a chance. She just assumes the worst of men. And that was really significant for me. That's kind of how I feel like my life has been. Like at some point I was nice, sweet and innocent, and then quickly that turned into becoming cynical and suspicious of every single man I meet because of one person in the past. So like, I feel like writing that into Circe's story really served as a really good like explanation for why as a background character she's so villainous in Odysseus' story of like the witch, you know. So I'm gonna like read you a really nice quote. Actually I got like a little notes here actually, but before this chapter the book felt like a beautiful myth and fairy tale of happy Cersei encountering adventures, because she like gets a familiar, like she gets like a lion as a familiar, which is pretty cool. From this moment on, it took a turn when Cersei took her destiny into her hands. She became powerful. It begins to question her, not always on her side, but it takes a really scary turn. And actually, I was fully on her side until I got too far, but it's just, this quote is beautiful. Brides, nymphs were called, but that is not really how the world saw us. We were an endless feast laid out upon a table, beautiful and renewing, and so very bad at getting away. So like, Cersei is a daughter of like an ocean nymph, which is why she's kind of like seen as like just a nymph, something to be married away, like a dowry, I guess. So that really hit me. It's like, it's just how women were seen in the past, you know, and that was quite a good quote. And like one quote that I think defined like the turn of the book, and it was like right in the middle of the book, was, "I was alone and the woman, that was all that mattered." That's just how the bad people, the bad sailors that would try to hurt her, saw her. She was just a woman and she was alone. So I thought that was quite an interesting little bit that I really enjoyed reading. Towards the end, she begins to like learn a lot about herself and the world and how to interact with the world from there on after. And it's just beautiful how the imagery is. For me, there was nothing. I would go on through the countless millennia while everyone I met ran through my fingers, and I was left with only those who were like me, the Olympians and Titans, my sister and my brothers, my father. It's just, I've never been able to understand immortality as much as I did in that moment, because suddenly I understood why immortality isn't great. So this book definitely put a lot of things into perspective for me. So you have, I mean, I think I can split the book easy, even if it's not split like this, it's not split at all into parts, but it can easily be split into like innocent Cersei when she was, you know, very young and trusted her brother, to growing Cersei who becomes very cynical and suspicious, and then wise Cersei who learns from her mistakes and has, you know, stuff going on. I don't want to spoil too much the ending, because the ending's brilliant. Wise growing Cersei, so I thought that was brilliant, and the ending was spot on. I think I give this book a 4 or 5 stars. It's definitely worth it in my opinion. Definitely a read, and I read it so quickly, like it took like 4 or 5 days, which is unusual for me, so definitely check it out. After I read Cersei, I was also inspired again by Greek mythology, and I picked up The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. This book, at first I picked it up simply because the blurb seems interesting. So it's essentially about the captured queen Briseis of Lynesias, which is like a little town near Troy that gets like sacked by Achilles and his army whilst they're like at war with Troy over Helen. And it's basically like a footnote, like in mythology, like it's Briseis, I think, doesn't even get mentioned in most stuff. So it was definitely like, I understood from the title, The Silence of the Girls, this is a story of women who don't get a chance to voice their own stories, because they're footnotes, they're just conquest, they're sex slaves. I actually was a little bit disappointed by this book. I didn't enjoy the fact that half the book was essentially not even part of the plot. Like nothing happened in the first half, so the first 2 chapters are about Briseis, the queen of Lynesias, being captured by Achilles and his army whilst they're at war with Troy over Helen and Paris and all that stuff. And that, a lot happens in that, and then there's nothing. It's just like Briseis establishing a routine, and we get to meet some characters who like are so unimportant that I don't even remember their names. There were like little girls, like young girls that, you know, become bed slaves and become pregnant and stuff. And yeah, it's just nothing happens, just depressing. It's just like a monologue from Briseis, like saying that she's not happy and that she wants to go back. And I get it that that's natural to think that way, but to have like an entire book, like half of the book literally was only until like the last maybe 100 pages, like in this half, like yeah, about 100 pages, 120 pages, that anything happened. And it just felt like I wasn't enjoying it. I almost put it down. I almost gave up on reading it, because it was just depressing. There was no goal. Briseis had literally no goal to look forward to. She just wanted to keep alive, and that was it. So I just felt like I almost dropped reading it, and the reason I stayed reading it was simply because of Achilles' relationship with Patroclus, and it was really interesting. Every once in a while, I'd have a chapter where it would focus on Achilles and his monologue inside and how he felt and stuff. And that was the only reason I kept reading. And eventually, in the last 100 pages, stuff happened. Achilles stopped fighting because he was, I don't want to spoil, because when it happened to Briseis, and then everything goes down, and the whole book ends up very differently to how I thought it would end. So that definitely was interesting, but I didn't like the fact that it took so long. Like 3/4 of the book was just leading up to that one bit that could have been done 150 pages. So I didn't like that aspect of the book. It could have been better done. So in a way, I think I gave this book 3 stars, because it could have been 4 stars if it weren't for the fact that 150 pages of it was just depressing drivel that went on and on for far too long. I feel like it could have been a much shorter book if we just had a time skip. Because a lot of chapters, I went back and I read it and I was like, why was this chapter useful? And I couldn't figure out why it was useful. And as far as I know, I think it won. Like, 'cause it says it was shortlisted for something, but also I think it was a Goodreads choice, I think, as well. So like, I don't know why this book has such great reviews. Like, my friends were talking loads about it, and I just think I just read a different book because it just doesn't feel like it's that good. But I don't know, maybe I just don't enjoy like monologues about how sad people are. I don't know. And the ending was not what I wanted. It was not what I expected at all. It started off so well, it could have been quite different, but in the end, it was boring. So I gave it 3 stars. It was well written. Definitely like the potential was there. And I like the fact that it was a silenced woman, like that's why it's Silence of the Girls. They had no opinion, they were just used as pawns. The entire book, like, is not, Briseis does nothing for herself, like except for that one part at the end. But like, she does nothing for herself. She's literally like a tool that Achilles and the guys like in the camp just use her as they want, and all that happens to her is not a result of her wanting it or doing it for herself. It's just what people do to her. So like, I like the fact that the symbolism of that is good. It's giving them a voice, but at the same time made for a very dull plot. So I don't know if there was a better way of doing that, of making it so that there was an interesting aspect to it. Maybe if I'm just a terrible person that doesn't find it interesting when you have depressing characters. It was interesting, I guess. It was definitely a good read. I'm just not going to reread it, and I wouldn't recommend it either. I thought it was an okay read. Yeah, it was an okay read. That's out of the way. And then, so this book, I bought it about a year ago because I wanted to read it just out of interest. So I read it for my dissertation because its studying was really relevant, and it actually was really useful for my dissertation, but it also was a really enlightening read. This was an academic book called Revolt on the Right, explaining support for the radical right in Britain, and has a lovely picture of our good man Nigel Farage on there. That's actually why I picked it up, because it was kind of like thrown in a pile in a second-hand bookshop, and I saw his face and I was like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's Nigel Farage holding a pint. Like, that's like the most UKIP thing in the world. It's a very political book because that's what my course is about, and it has a lot of data on it, which I not enjoy reading. But it's something that I recommend people read if they can, is books about the current state of politics in the world. I recommend that everyone read at least one that's applicable to their country. So this one is because everyone in the UK suddenly cares about immigration in the EU, and this is explaining why. When did that happen? Why did that happen? What does UKIP have to do with it? Are they the sole participants of this? And it's just like analysing through quantitative matters who is the average median voter that believes in Brexit and stuff. And it's done with actual data, which I appreciate, rather than being like so-and-so is racist, etc. And it's a very enlightening read. I'm going to summarize it briefly for you because I recognize that most of you guys don't want to read a 400-page book about politics. Essentially, the average voter for UKIP is white working class in their like late 30s to early 40s who is uneducated, and by that I mean has finished secondary school, not gone to higher education, and they are working class with low job security, and most likely don't feel safe in their jobs and economic perspectives. So it portrays a picture of these really sad, angry people who are rightfully angry because they have been done over by the government. They just feel like they've lost hope, there's nothing to hope for anymore, and they feel victimized and like their opportunities being taken away by immigrants. And it was like, I think it's something that everyone kind of knows about, that's what's happening out there with populism and stuff. But it was definitely an interesting read in terms of finally getting proof of it. And what I didn't realize was that it's such a gendered topic. Generally speaking, 76% of UKIP voters are male, and the book can't find an explanation for why that is. So I don't know, it was interesting seeing things that are talked about in the media with no evidence, it's just speculation, being given with evidence. There are still so many questions that the book does bring up that can't be answered through just data alone. So it was definitely like an eye-opener, and it really informed my dissertation topic. That's my autumn read. I think it was quite productive, surprisingly. In terms of what I have planned for winter, I have a ridiculous amount of work to do, so I most likely will not be able to get a lot of reading done for the last couple of months of the year, which is great. But I have started The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, which looks really interesting, but it is 600 pages of academic work, so it's going to be really hard for me to get through. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, etc, etc. I really like watching your guys' comments. It makes me really happy to see such a discussion go on in my comments, so please, please, please keep commenting. It really makes me happy. If you can, please share this video around Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, I don't mind, even Facebook, for God's sake. Just please share it around if you can. I really want to get my analytics back up again. I don't know why they've gone down so much, so please do give it a thumbs up. So bye guys.